All right, at this time, we're going to have Larry Winter come forward and introduce our speaker. Larry? Larry, would you like to hold it? Okay.
I hope that many of you have had the joy and privilege of already having met our GRSP student, Philip Forsberg. And you'll notice he pronounces his name differently than we do, but he said that's okay, because he normally laughs when we try to do it the other way. He really, really wanted to come here because he was selected 2 years ago and COVID intervened. And as a matter of fact, he even put part of his life on hold for an extra year in order to come and be with us. Now, I won't steal the rest of the story because I've seen the presentation and know it's in there of how hard he had to work to be here. But he is proud to be a Roadrunner. He is glad to be at Dalton State, and we are thrilled to have him as our speaker. Philip, please.
Thank you very much.
Does he want the mic?
I perfect. Can everyone hear me correctly? Yeah. All right. So my name is Filip Forsberg, and I come from Sweden, and my birthday is September 12th, 1998. Thank you very much. I have a picture on the left. You see is from when I was baptized, and sadly I couldn't really bring in my dress. So for a professional headshot, I took it out and said I had to wear a tie. And I think a lot of you already know a bit about Sweden, so I'm going to do some comparisons as well. When I talk about the north, I'm going to be talking about the place up here in Umeå. You want to here? Perfect. And when I'm talking about where I actually live, I'm here in Stockholm. So both my parents come from a place in the north, Umeå, and they moved down here in Stockholm, so that's where I live. So when I visit my relatives, it's always up in the north. So Sweden has a population of around 10 million people, and the land area is around 173,000 square miles. So if we compare that to Georgia, we have about the same population, but it's about a third the size of it. The main capital of Sweden, where I grew up, is Stockholm. It has a population of around 1 million people. And Stockholm, as you see on the picture, has a lot of water. That's because it's actually built upon 14 different islands, which are all connected by 54 bridges. And I'll show that this side right here. You can see some of the more bridges. And in the Stockholm archipelago, where I also have 30,000 more islands, which are very popular for people to have as vacation from. And they build like small cabins on them as well. These are my parents. To the left you see my father, Lars Forsberg, and to the right you see my mother, Ann-Charlotte Medellin. And this is my brother. So I'm just going to talk about my family right here. My brother is actually 4 years older than me. And the backstory to this picture is, as you can see, my hair is kind of wet. We were actually just swimming in the waterfall right behind right here. And it was a freshwater waterfall, so you can swim with an open mouth and you keep drinking as you're swimming. So it's really quite exciting. And then I have on my mother's side, I have my grandmother up here to the right, who's 77 years old. And I also have my great-grandparents right here. And my great-grandparents became 96-year-old, which is Eva Nguyen, right here to the right. And then we have my great-grandmother, who is Adina Nguyen, and she became 93 years old. And even far up into the late 80s and the early 90s of the great-grandfather, he's still out in the field chopping woods as was a farmer, and he has dairy cow. And luckily, I got to spend some time with them, and before he passed away. These are my grandmothers and grandfather from my father's side. They were super sweet, and they became 77 years old and 74 years old, respectively. And this is my home in Stockholm. I think this picture is taken in the year 2005 or 2007. And since then, we renovated a little bit. This is taken during winter, but as you can see, there's not a lot of snow, but it's still kind of dark outside. So I think this picture may have been taken around 6 p.m. or something like that. In Sweden, you don't really get that much sunlight during the winter out here. And even up in the north, during the summer, you instead get a lot of sun. So we have something called the midnight sun. So the midnight sun is when the sun never sets. You get sunlight 24 hours a day. But sadly, during the winter half year, you don't get sun about 5 or 4 hours a day. So growing up in Sweden, of course, you need to learn how to make Swedish meatballs. And Larry's pointed out that it has photographic evidence to knowing how to make Swedish meatballs. So I'm going to prove it for him one day. I used to play a lot of sports. These are actually two of the three most popular sports in Sweden. As you see to the left, we have soccer, and to the right, we have something that's called floorball. And floorball is just the inside or indoors version of hockey. So if you want to guess what the third most popular sport would be, it would be ice hockey. Yeah. Growing up in Sweden, you actually need to learn two big things wherever you're born. You need to learn how to ice skate and you need to learn how to swim in order to pass physical education. Up in the north, there are some schools that also require you to learn how to do cross-country ski. So we start off very young, and it is something that you have to learn in order to pass physical education. These are my great-grandparents' cabins up in the north. Right one sitting during summer, the left one sitting during winter. And something that's very special and something that's very recognizable as a Swedish cabin is a red with white decorations. So you see the white edges on the right cabin, the red walls, that's typically Swedish cabin. Whenever I went up to the north, I got to do a lot of things that I wouldn't really do in Stockholm. So I got to do ice fishing. On the right picture, you can see my grandfather actually tying a canoe and towing me my brother along for a ride. And, great snowmans and great igloos. It was quite chilly, but it didn't really face at that time. Really excited to just run out and go inside the igloo. We also do what's called sledding. So this is sledding without the dogs, you just kick yourself forward. And of course, we also do a lot of skiing up it. One thing that I really love doing, and I would usually get into regular fights with my brother, was to actually cut my grandmother's lawn. And that's only because we got to drive the lawnmower. Something else that really do soccer, but I'll get the opportunity to try it out in the north of the rifle. Well, I'm really good at about 7 years old. So I didn't wait quite enough, so I had my brother sit on the back just so I could drive it. You also get to see a lot of different animals. Deers are out during the whole year. And to the right there is a reindeer. Now, growing up to the north, we didn't only do for experience. We have a lot of relatives up there. We always have like these long tables and sit in the house. With other relatives. The second thing during Christmas, because it's we really celebrate Christmas during Christmas Eve, which is instead of Christmas Day, which is vacation. But now back to like something fairly recent is that I've actually done 3 years. So it's at it is the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, Sweden. It is an engineering school, and fun fact, it's actually on rural ground. So the school pays a symbolic sum of $1 every year just to rent out the space so we can study on the rural ground. And named as our first protector of the school, it's actually the Swedish king. So when you study an engineering program in Sweden, there's two types of engineering. There's one engineering program that's 3 years long, and there's one type that is 5 years long. I'm currently taking the 5 years long program, which contains a bachelor and a master's degree. But as many people know, it's kind of like hard to decide which type of engineer you'd like to become. So during the first year, I joined the school something called an open program, an open entrance program. During that first year, you take all the courses that are similar in all the different programs that the programs have in common with each other, which be mathematics and like basic physics for it. That's what I did. For the first year, I took the open entrance. You can kind of see the figure of a guy running into the door. And that's the symbol of the open entrance chapter, the open entrance program. And then for the second year, I moved over to the computer science program. During my year studying in Stockholm, I was fairly active. So I was elected student union council, and that's what I could represent. And then you can see me wearing an overall as well. And the color red actually represents the first program I went into, so it represents the open chapter. We were to start off with computer science, we have a pink overall. And if we want to do physics, we have orange ones, civil engineering, and green ones. And all this kind of represents your program. So then we had like student activity, with very overalls to show off what type of program, what type of engineering we want. And it's actually at the university that I actually found out about the university student, my fellow student of mine. And she actually went to the University of Georgia, I think 5 years ago. And she told me about her great experience here in the US. And I thought that, hey, that's something I would love to try out. So I started off the application progress by going to the nearest Rotary club near my home, and then signed up and sponsored me. So I eventually got accepted and had to wait 1 year until I could finally apply for my visa. And I had to wait 1 year to postpone since COVID. So the last thing to do was actually just to go to the US Embassy and take my visa, right? But sad enough, that wasn't the case for me. Or for my fellow Swedish people who came over here to this year, seeing as the US Embassy in Stockholm was actually closed in COVID time. So you couldn't really apply to Stockholm. You had to go to a different country's US Embassy. So the first one I tried out to start for was the US Embassy in Poland, which actually had a lot of visiting time. I could apply for a time, I could schedule a meeting, but the meeting would then be too late for me to arrive here in time for school start. So I looked around and I found out that there's a US Embassy in Austria as well that had more available meetings, and I could schedule an early meeting. But whenever I transferred to Austria, they told me that they just changed the rule, so you can't actually apply for a meeting or try to schedule a meeting if you're not an Austrian resident. And so the very next day, I panicked and I said, okay, I need to go back to the Polish US Embassy. And then the very next day, they actually changed to the same rules as well. So out of luck, I couldn't apply for the US Embassy anywhere. And so I tried a couple of different countries as well. I tried Lithuania, I tried Estonia, I tried Latvia, I tried Netherlands, I tried Mexico, I tried a lot of different countries. But I finally ended up going to the US Embassy in Paris and scheduled an appointment with them. And out of it, I also got to tour some of the tourist places in Paris. So I'm not complaining, really nice. I finally did obtain my visa, so my parents took me to the airport and they left me off there. I said goodbye to them. And then when I landed in Atlanta, I was greeted by my host right there, which is the Winter family. And then I'm here today holding this presentation. I've been having a really great time and I'm looking forward to this year. There are questions.
I think we're looking at personification of persistent, right? It's a true thing. So in all your going through all the emphases, did
you ever at any point say, "Ah, I'm not just gonna do it, or did you, what was your mindset on all that?
So during the process, I was actually trying to reach out to other URSP recipients because I know that the Norwegian students had the same problem. So I created a group chat with some Norwegian, Danish, and Swedish students. So try to solve the problem together. And now, sadly enough, for the French embassy, they would routinely cancel your scheduled appointment. So you had actually a hang there on the login, try to get in during the last hour after each day. So I think only me and one other Swedish student actually got to go there through the US Embassy in Paris. So we tried to get as many people as possible to the US Embassy in Paris, so sadly we didn't get them more. But I never give up, that's the question.
Is this your first visit to the United States? And if it is, what about the United States really jumped out at you different and odd?
Different and odd. I wouldn't say that something is odd, but you have, I think I've always heard that everything's bigger in the United States, right? And you guys have always heard that everything's bigger in Texas. I knew that common here, but I did not expect it. And something like, the trucks are fairly common here and very popular. The race trucks, that's something I've never seen. This is actually my second time ever being in the United States. I was once in the US when I was 12 years old, and we visited like Echo Center and this and that with my family.
Question for you or Larry or John. How many students do we have in the state? How many were able to make?
I think after New Year's Eve, it's gonna be about 40 students coming here.
There's 42 right now.
42 right now.
42 right now.
Larry, how does that compare to previous years?
Half.
No, it's really about similar. Usually we're, in the nineties, we were, had up to 80 or 90, but then the tuition started rising, so the numbers fell. And in the last decade, I would say, mid to high 40s is the average.
Okay, they told me that last year we had 68. That's what I was basing. But anyways, it's down, and so we're grateful that we as a club are sponsoring, Carpet City, and 3 other clubs used to sponsor somebody 3 years ago, but they're not sponsoring anybody right now. That's part of what John's pointing out.
What is the status of COVID in Sweden, and what is your experience with COVID over there?
I think, so currently almost all of our citizens are vaccinated. So the COVID virus are like dying out. There's still like some different strands. So the Delta virus strand, everyone can still get affected with that one. So there's still lockdown, but I think they're going to open up more or like completely into seeing as everyone's already vaccinated. No, it's not a mandated lockdown. There are some restrictions. In government agencies, you have to sanitize your hands and you have to wear a mask.
When COVID first came out, you all chose a different path of no action and hoping for natural development of herd immunity, which did not happen.
So it wasn't no action. It was still, you should keep 6 feet up, keep 6 feet away from each other, but it wasn't really any bigger restrictions than that. They did eventually close down bars, pubs, save alcohol, and get a curfew on for a store, but it couldn't open after 10 p.m. But it didn't want to reach herd immunization, herd immunity as soon as possible. Sadly, that wasn't the case.
Could you tell us about the Rotary Club that sponsored you?
The Rotary Club that sponsored me, they actually have been through a lot this last year, and they've had to restructure. So previously it was called the Rotary Älvsjö, which is the district that I was going to, but now they changed district and become Stockholm Southwest. And they have like a lot of programs containing the cleanup of the Baltic Sea.
What's your course of study at Dalton State now, please?
Course of study, I don't really have a major here, but currently I'm enrolled in a couple of different courses. One of which is Human Anatomy and Physiology 1, which it's a lot of study, but it's also not fun one. I feel like I learned a lot from that one. I have a course in psychology. I have a really fun course in tennis that's going to open up in October. I have a course in business etiquette, and I have a course in small group communication. And I get to sign up for the courses for the spring semester.
All Rotarians here, we speak 4 or 5 different languages.
So in Sweden, everyone starts off learning English in elementary school. So when you're about 7 years old, 7 or 8 years old, you start learning of English. And then when you start middle school, you have to start learning a third language, you can say. So I took some Spanish. So I can say, me hablo un poco español. So I will speak a very tiny amount of Spanish, but everyone has to learn English. And during high school, you can choose to continue your studies in your third language, or you choose to switch your language. Or in the case of me, I went to technology and natural sciences school, so I took that program instead.
Are we meeting your expectations?
Yeah, I was really thrilled to go over here, and I didn't really have any expectations. It's been amazing so far. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year.
Have listed your obvious sports. I mean, cross country. Have you added a bird hunting to that list yet?
Bird hunting was really a fun experience, and it was the first time I've ever shot a gun as well. I think that's quite surprising as well. I knew that everyone has guns here. In Sweden, it's really only the police department or the bad guys that have guns. But here, all the good guys have guns as well. But it was really fun to go hunting. I felt like it was a lot like fishing. You wait for the bird to come to you, and you wait for it. It was really fun. It wasn't fair.
What do you enjoy doing on the weekend while you're here in Dalton?
So I think 2 weekends ago, we spent Labor Day down in Florida with my whole family, and I got to meet their grandchild, and I got to go to Daytona Beach. It's the most amazing beach I've ever been to. I've never seen such fine sand. And otherwise, I really enjoy spending time at college as well with friends in the dorms.
Just so you know, everyone gets on.
I know you didn't get a chance to, but y'all just had a virtual conclave, which, you know, that conclave is a great opportunity to get to meet all the other GRSP students. Have you had an opportunity to meet many of them face to face?
I haven't met many of them face to face. I haven't actually met any one of them face to face, only through virtual meetings. But there's going to be, I think, Peachtree City, Rotary Club, are going to host a Dragon Boat event for their fundraiser. And they're inviting all of the GRSP students to come there. So I think I'm going to go down there and meet some other GRSP students on September 24th to 25th.
The Savannah weekend is still on.
No,
I
they
believe it's-
canceled it.
Yeah, they canceled.
There was a weekend getaway in Columbus, and it was canceled, and now, again in October, for all the students in Savannah, has been canceled.
Philip is trying to learn as many and experience as many American things as possible. For example, he went to a rodeo on Friday night. He also would like to go to a college football game. So if there's anybody here that's got an extra ticket and want to have a wonderful, fun guest, okay? You know, he doesn't mind if it's Georgia or Georgia Tech or Kennesaw or Georgia State. He has no allegiance to anybody. He'll root for whoever takes it. Okay? That's right. Any other questions?
Then I'd like to present the flag or the Rotary Club that I spoke with in Stockholm, Sweden.
Thank you.
Maybe we gonna give him when he leaves.
He'll get one of ours when he leaves. I'll be in the spring, I didn't forget. When he gets his. What a great presentation, yes. So glad to have, Philip. I'm gonna learn how to say it the way you're gonna say it. I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna figure it out. But we're thankful to you and being here. Thankful to Larry and Connie for their willingness to be a host family. My wife and I had the privilege a couple years ago with Anna Toby, her host family. But what a great moment. I mean, for her and for us. And I'm ready to sign back up. That was a great experience for us as well. A couple of things that I'd like to wind our meeting up with, if I could. First off, she just didn't know I was going to do this, but Anna Adamson, if you'll come forward, I'm going to present you with your blue badge.
Yes.
That's right. Let's come over here. Let's snap a picture real quick. Let's everybody give Anna a hand. There you go. All right. Setting my notes there. There they are. I'd like to remind everybody again about our golf tournament. Please sign up and sponsor. Also about our gun raffle. Also about Gene Fest this coming a week from Friday. We'd love for you to see you there. Next week, we have a Rotary board meeting. So if you're a board member, we have a board meeting next week. And this room is great to see all these people here. We'd like to see you back. Now, I'm curious. I tried something today on DACDB. Did everybody get a text from me today?
Yeah.
I tried. If you didn't, I need to check to see if your number is right in DACDB. But they've got a feature now where I can send a text. But I've only can do 140 characters. So you're not going to get a long message for me. It's just going to say, hey, we've got a meeting today. Don't forget. Yeah, it'll be. And an email. I know I'm probably wearing y'all and all this stuff, but I will definitely do that. If you please stand, we'll dismiss. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Before you leave, I want to make sure all our guests know that we're thankful you're here too. I had some great folks here with us.